Welcome back to the Webleedpixels podcast. I'm your host T.
And I'm your co-host V. And today we are joined by two members of the Spaceboat team. Would you two like to introduce yourselves and tell us maybe your title and a little bit of what you specifically work on Spaceboat?
Sure. My name is Luis Alonso. I'm basically the person who founded the company, and I've been working in video games for well over 20 years. And so I'm primarily dealing with all the development of the game itself. And next is Michelle.
Thanks for that introduction, Luis. My name is Michelle Franklin. I'm the narrative designer and producer for Spaceboat. And what Luis also didn't mention is that we both do some of the voices in the game as well. And Lauren, who is not here at the moment, she does the voice of Domino, the main character in the game.
Ooh.
Oh, cool.
Who does Earl?
Luis does Earl.
That would be me.
Oh.
Pretty much. So the way we have it is Michelle did the voice, did a temporary voice for the main character for a little while, and then
I didn't like it.
now she does the voice for the singing. She sings the main theme.
Yeah.
And she also wrote the lyrics for it.
Yeah.
And then you have Lauren that does the voice of the main character and pretty much every other. Oh wait, and Michelle also did the voice of a character named Gordo, the ultraviolet.
The ultraviolet ignoramus, yeah. I do.
Oh, yeah.
It was my best impression of somebody we know, where it's me just going, "Oh hey, boss, oh hey." So,
but pretty much every other voice, that would be me filling in because we just don't have a budget at the moment for all the voices. But
people seem to like the voices, so we might just leave it as is. I mean, just at least for this part of the game, because people seem to really think the voices are funny.
No, yeah, I like the voices.
Oh, yeah. The voices are amazing.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, Luis does all the male voices, so Dale, Glenn, Earl, Alan.
Oh, I did the one female voice on the boardwalk.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
She bumps into you.
Get out of the way!
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
amazing.
I've been having fun trying to basically reinvent my voice every time, so it doesn't sound like the same character. So that's why Mr. Combini, Glenn, Alan, Earl, even now the new character named Andy. They're all my voice, but I try to really make it so it doesn't sound like the same person, because that would be annoying.
Yeah.
So, have either of you done voice acting work before?
Not professionally, just for fun, really.
Yeah, when I grew up, where I grew up, there was a couple of guys that we would always do this kind of like voiceovers on top of normal tapes. So yeah, we used to have a lot of fun with it. So I might not have any professional work for voice acting, but I have done it quite a bit. Just, it's always more of a side thing for fun.
Yeah.
And when you're, a small company trying to make a game, it's like, hey, I can kind of do voice. I could do it, I guess.
For singing, I was professionally trained. I sang for quite a long time. I sang at Carnegie Hall and all that stuff. But I'm trained in classical singing. So doing something like jazz was, I do it to amuse the tiles in my bathroom. That's about it. Doing it on to a really nice track written by Sam Shanley. That was great. That was really fun.
Yeah, he did a great job of creating that space. It's like the Love Boat kind of theme, but it's still very 80s mixed with the stuff that I asked him for like retro, and he put all that together somehow. He somehow made sense of all the things I was asking him, and he made something really, really nice.
Yeah, really fun. Yeah.
It was a real big surprise. I'm starting the game and then having like some actual music come through, and then having like a song come through. Like it was a thing of like, I was like, right, this is the stream. We're just gonna listen to this. This is it.
There was a streamer who played last night who she got to the end and she enjoyed it, but then she just went back to the beginning and then just played the song 3 times over again, just so this way people could listen to it. And I popped in the stream and I said, the song's on YouTube. It's perfect. You won't get copy strike on it. You can listen to it all you want. and she immediately went to YouTube and just played it over and over again. And that's
Also,
fine.
if anyone's listening and they're in the middle of the game and they're like, I'd like to listen to the theme song, you can actually do that through the menu. If you go to the credits, when the credits roll, there's a little section where you can have the credits roll, and it's got the that music in there. So if ever you want to listen to it,
cool.
you can get it there. And it's actually better than the beginning section, because the beginning section you can still hear Dale's phone, like the little beeps and boops that it does. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and-
because he has to be looking at his loot boxes.
Yeah, but there's little sounds there that are kind of like overlapping Sam's nice work and your voice. So it's like, yeah, if you don't want to listen to that, if it doesn't bother you, then no problem. But if not, if you listen to the credits, it'll be nice and clean.
Nice.
See, that needs to be the opening for your streams from now on.
Just,
Please do. You're allowed. It's completely it's free real estate for your streams if you want to play it.
I'll have to add it to the copyright free Spotify list.
Yeah, sure.
On Spotify.
Yes.
I don't think Sam added it to Spotify, but you can always ask him over Twitter. He can add it if you want.
Ooh, I'm gonna.
I personally don't have a Spotify account, but I'm sure he does. You can ask him. I'm sure he'll give it to you.
We'll bug him though. We'll ask him. Hey, can we put this on Spotify? And let's see what he says.
Yes, please. Would you like to give a little bit to the audience about the game? Just a little small section before we ask you a couple of questions.
Spaceboat is an investigative narrative game in which you play as Inspector Domino, who is our real life cat, and she's very old, so she doesn't inspect that much these days. But she very much likes inspecting her food bowl, as do all cats. And you go around in this. It's an old school adventure game that's been revamped. So if you like the old Monkey Island or Full Throttle, this is for you, but it's redone in a narrative way. So we took the narrative of, let's say, something like a Mass Effect, where it's choose your own narrative, and we superimposed it on an adventure game with investigative elements.
Yeah, and we're also trying to reinvent a little bit how the narrative adventures can work. So, for example, even though we have a lot of inspiration from like Space Quest, for example. It's a good example of what we're, like the humor and everything. Even though that's a point and click game, we don't have any point and click. We've tried to do everything we can to make the game more, I guess, I hate to use the term, but like modernized, like something that's not entirely focused on mouse and keyboard. So it's like everybody can play, and you're not pixel hunting. So once you find an item, you talk to a person, the option in the dialogue opens up if you have the thing. So it's to take away some of the stuff that I'm not a big fan of in the point and click genre. So hopefully people will appreciate that and see it as a new reimagined kind of adventure game method. But it's not really all that new. We have seen some games do this already, so hopefully people feel also that it's in that vein.
Yeah. So kind of like because I know that probably not similar or a little bit more similar, but the Sherlock games have kind of like a narrative where you have to like go over, and then like if you do like a certain thing, and then somebody then will have a different kind of like a dialogue to talk about it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So
idea.
There are a lot of new style narrative adventure games. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see it too, because we really needed to rethink that formula a little bit, especially for controls. So if you want to play it on like a Switch or something, point and click is like unless you're expecting people to click on the screen, it doesn't really work so well, I don't think.
No, it's torture to try play point and click games on using a controller. It's horrible.
I mean, if you look at the new, Sam and Max, what they did in the quote-unquote remastered version is not only did they fix the graphics, but they completely redid the game for controller only. and it's so much better. It's so nice. I played the original, way back in the day, and the new series when it came out. I think it was like 2007, 2008. But obviously that was made for mouse and keyboard. That was not made for controller. So we've made this with controller in mind first. But since the game is really only 2 buttons, it works perfectly on keyboard as well.
Yeah, and we also added some features that are specifically for mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
I mean, even our cursor turns into Domino's paw. So
Yeah, and that is her real paw. That's her back paw though, because
That's
she wouldn't show
cute.
me. She wouldn't show
Yeah, we
me her
took a
front
picture.
toe beans at the time, so I'm busy trying to
Aw.
turn her around and take pictures, and she's just being a very tough customer.
She's just being a cat, just like, nah, I'm not gonna do this.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I have to wait for her to fall asleep and flump over onto her back in order to take proper pictures.
So going back to Domino, because I can't just hear real life cat and bypass that. Is she a company cat, or is she specifically owned by one of you?
She's ours, yeah. She's our cat. We have another cat named Siegmeyer who we also wanted to put in the game. He's a big Norwegian forest cat with very, very floofy cheeks, and yeah. So if we do end up getting a publisher where we can comfortably like make all the options that the community wants, then we will instead of Domino, we'll also have a Siegmeyer in the game. So this way,
Yeah, so you can choose
yes, you
either
can
male,
choose
yeah,
male or female,
or a female cat.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, you can.
cute.
Yeah, and they both have their backstory. They're completely different characters, completely. So that should be interesting from the perspective of the narrative.
That's cool.
Be really
I mean,
interesting.
it's a big thing to do because if you have to redo the game as a different character, then obviously we would like some other options. So we would need the comfort of security in order to have the time to do that, because that takes a lot of time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
is that so? It's just not like the same, like story, like just different character. Because I know like some games where you play it for it once and it's like, oh, it's got multiple characters, but it all ends up into the same end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we would like to do. We wanted to have, so on the ship you will have a little dating thing, very very PG, not
a
full on
cute date.
dating. Yeah, cute dates. So if you took the male cat, you'd have different dates and things like that. So
Or maybe the same, but just different dialogues, anyways.
yeah.
Yeah, and as far to what you were asking before as well, the dialogues themselves, there'd be like, let's say, a core number of questions that would be the same, just with a different voiceover. But then there would be specific lines and things that you could ask that are only to Sigmire or to Domino,
Ooh.
and that goes for the interactions as well with certain characters. So right now it's more of an introduction of what it is. This is really just a vertical slice that we have right now for the demo. It's just a little bit of everything, just an introduction, and there's some characters that have character development, and one of the things we're trying to do is break some of the cliches in games. So one of the cliches I really want to break is I give you a gift, you become my friend, and if I have to give you 10 gifts and then you are my best friend, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but that's how it works in real life.
Yeah, sure. So the idea here is each character that you meet has, let's say, events in its future that could happen, and depending on what actions you take will trigger those events or not, and they can have a different outcome then at that point. So it doesn't just become like bad example, the Mass Effect 3 ending where you have just like 3 things at the very end that you can do. Here the idea is each character has its a tree of possibilities, and depending on your actions they will get there. So that will make it interesting, and at the same time the dialogues you have with them will change depending on which of the two you would have, and that's basically the initial design since day one.
So would it be like maybe like a butterfly effect, where if you don't
Yes.
do a certain thing, then you don't get that, or it will change the outcome of what that how that character is?
Yeah, there's a bit of that. The only thing I was worried about that is that if I make it too butterfly effective, like this little thing that you have no idea is going to affect this other big thing over here. Like the only way you're going to find out about it is if you look it up in a guide or look it up on YouTube or just try a million different things yourself. So I wanted to avoid that a little bit, and I've been working on something that's kind of like a visual representation of the paths you can take. So
Mhm.
it's there to help the player understand what the possible outcomes that you can get, and see if you miss something. So you could reload and try it differently, or play it over again and see this kind of like matrix of possibilities type of thing, to help people out, so that there's not too much of a hey, I just did this thing and it's something completely unrelated happened later with something else, and I want to try to avoid that a little bit. But generally that's the idea. I want to go into that direction while still helping the player understand the consequences of their actions.
I like that. That's a good way to go about it, I think.
It's like you consider the new character we just added to the demo. His name is Fireworks Andy. He just he's at the fireworks and he sells fireworks, but he doesn't actually like sell you anything. He's a fourth wall breaking character that we put in there, who straight up tells you, I'm an in-hint game system, in-game hint system. Sorry, and the idea is like we have like the traditional puzzle at the beginning, even though there's a little bit of mini platforming and some little action sequences later at the end. But the idea here is that we don't want people to get frustrated on the puzzle necessarily. We want them to enjoy the universe and not get into one of those scenarios where maybe the developer, in this case me, would come up with some esoteric, like bizarre thing where you have to put two things together and give it to a character. And to avoid that, we put a character that says, I'm here to help you out if you get stuck. So you can just pass this thing, because it might not be important that you figure it out. There's no gamer pride to get this figured out. You just want to enjoy the universe and
yes, there is
fun. Yeah, I guess.
I have to get my achievements.
Yeah, some people it'll be important, so they don't talk to Andy. That's all. They have the choice. The choice
Actually,
is there.
if you talk to Andy multiple times, if you talk to him, he gives you an achievement.
Ooh.
Yeah.
If you're stuck, if you're really stuck, he actually gives you the option to skip to the cat section if you are not too keen on the puzzles.
Yeah. So despite, that kind of breaks the immersion if you have a character that's fourth wall breaking, but at the same time, because he's there, you don't think about it too much and you're just kind of enjoying yourself. And then you can have a character that does these things to let you progress. So that's why having all these options with the characters, it's good to immerse yourself in the universe and say, okay, I talked to that person, I did this. But then if you have something that can help you out a little bit with that, I hope it's not going to break the immersion that of what you're experiencing by having these fourth wall breaking kind of mechanics. Hopefully they'll just be there to make it a more enjoyable experience overall.
I feel like with the feel of the game and like the humor of it that's already like in place and everything, a fourth wall breaking character kind of fits that world already. I think it wouldn't really like take away, it kind of adds to it, I think, just like with the, like I said, the humor and like the way that the game already is.
Oh, I'm glad you think that, because there was even a couple of people that were saying we were a little bit too on the nose on some things, and then I'd watch another stream and then they'd be like, this other group of people would be like, wouldn't catch any of the stuff that I'd be making reference to, like in the real world, where for example, I don't know, like there's a game that has a pre-order that's not really all that fair a deal, and we make reference to that. And
I gotta stop pre-ordering things.
Yeah, they could associate with that, but they didn't. It didn't seem like it was a thing that broke the immersion. So I guess it depends on the crowd, because some people will see the metaphor and just go, there's no subtext, there's just text. And then other people will be like, no, this is the world's just this place is just the natural evolution of what gaming monetization is going to become when it's normalized and it's part of everyday, everything that we do.
That's how capitalism is now. I mean, how many times TikTok just announced a subscription thing yesterday? I'm not just sent it to Laura, and I went, oh look, there's now a subscription for TikTok. Every 2 seconds something gets popular. Oh, gotta have a sub for it. Gotta have points for it. Gotta do this. Gotta do that. So this way, because you have to make it. You have to gamify it, and then you have to give rewards. So this way, people keep buying. The joys of capitalism.
Well, I'm hoping people appreciate the irony and some of the things that we're doing. Like, for example, Mr. Combini. like a vending machine in real life, you just go up to it, you put in the money of the thing that you want, you press the button, the item comes out. Whereas Mr. Combini, you have tokens, and you then pull the lever, and there's a chance of the thing that you wanted to come out. And it's funny because in video games we have that exact thing where you can't buy the thing you want anymore. You always have to have some sort of a randomized surprise mechanic, if you will, to come out and give you the item. And if you were to take that and bring it into the real world, people would be like, "This is ridiculous! Like this vending machine isn't working like a normal vending machine." And I hope people get the irony of we did that in a video game. So I hope people appreciate the irony.
Hopefully, going just back on to 'cause, you said about that you have someone there like to give you like hints or can help you. I played a demo of this game which it didn't give any hints, and like it was meant to be a psychological like horror game, but the first puzzle which you had to do, you had to solve a math question to get into your own computer using people's birthdays and numbers. So like you would transfer like, say January would be like numbers and like February would be numbers, like but there was no hint or nothing to really help you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like I got lost, and I just kind
this
of like
game
stopped.
Being a separate game, not a space.
Yeah. And then it is nice, like, so like say if the player is like struggling a bit, it's nicer that there's somewhere to go and like get hints or just little tips, or even like to say skip the section, because some people doesn't want to like, well, some people don't want to like sit there for like say an hour, 2 hours trying to solve one puzzle.
We had two different. So Andy came about because we left the tutorial cones there in the game. So when the game starts, you have your tutorial cones, and we left them there this way. If you're ever stuck, you can always go back and look at them, and it will tell you, oh, go find the golden text. Oh, go look at this. Just in case you're stuck. But we noticed that even with the tutorial cones, even glowing, and the people were just not going back to them and just didn't know what to do.
Or would read it. Sometimes they would straight up read it. I watched them on stream, and I'm not kidding you. They would read it out loud for the entire chat,
and then not do it.
Completely forget it. Like 2 seconds later, I was stunned. I was just sitting there going, "What did I do wrong?"
And then Luis
what did I do?
He thought, okay, well, if they get stuck, and let's say they're talking to characters multiple times, we will have a little pop-up. So if you are talking to a character multiple times and you don't know what to do, there's a little pop-up of Domino. She goes, whoop, right in the bottom of the screen and goes, hey, remember, if you see golden text, to note it down, because that's immediately in your inventory. And if you don't know what to do next, you can always go to your journal and it will tell you what to do next. But people weren't getting this. They weren't looking at the journal, like nothing. So Louis just went, screw it. We're going to make a character that tells you exactly what to do if you're stuck.
Yeah, and even then, I've been watching the streams, and I'm like, okay, we've got the tutorials that are there that should be clear, I hope. And then we have things that pop up in case you missed something multiple times. And then I was thinking, okay, we have also the journal entries that should help out. And then at some point, now we have Andy. And just the other day, I watched a stream where someone said, I went to Andy for help, and it said, go stand outside Regrets and wait for someone to say something with golden text in the crowd, and just outside of Regrets. And they immediately went to Space Trucks, which is right next door, and then went indoors. And I was like, but why?
It wasn't me, was it? Because when I played it a few weeks ago, it wasn't me who was like, "Oh, I'm lost." Because I think
it was not you. No, because Andy wasn't in the game yet.
Yeah, Andy just showed up recently, so I doubt it very much. And it's not. And even if it was like imagine you'd done that. Don't worry. That's the thing I'm trying to figure out. I'm learning how to communicate as much as I can in the game as best I can to help the players. So I understand that like some of these games are different, have different mechanics, and just because of that, it's hard to break through, let's say, any conditioning someone's had of how to play a game. So I think that's the thing I'm improving on. I'm trying to be able to communicate ideas of how you can play this game, and it's a learning process on my end too. I'm really trying to make it so that new mechanics can be understood. So if someone doesn't get it, no problem there, and that's entirely on my end. I have to do better at communicating the idea. But the struggle is there because I'm having trouble sometimes piercing through some sort of conditioning from some other game, and it's not easy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people now are used to the quest markers. That's why Andy has a giant question mark over his head. Where
Yeah, and
people,
he even asks you like, you didn't finish the tutorials. He detects if you did or not, and then he goes,
That's
"Yeah,
clever.
you just went you went straight to the guy with a question mark over his head. Why'd you do that?"
I love it if you go back to him immediately and you don't explore. He goes, "Exploration's for babies, am I right?"
Yeah, so we're having a little fun with Andy. He's a character that he's kind of he's almost like a thinly veiled developer put directly in there saying what he thinks, or what they think. So Andy's a fun character, and we can have some conversations you wouldn't otherwise be able to have if it was like an in-game character.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back on. I think I'm gonna have to replay Spaceboat, and
yeah.
I'm gonna go.
Well,
meet
you
Andy.
enjoy the new demo for sure.
You missed something as well, we were told.
Yeah, is it Dale who's on the chair?
Oh yeah, did you miss ejecting him? Yeah,
I
Luis
did.
also changed that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've changed it a little bit so that when you get to the end of the demo, you can no longer just skip that part. You have now something that will guide you to another interaction, and now you'll be able to find the Dale the Dale interaction much easier.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back on it. That's it. Next
Yeah,
Sunday,
you will.
we're going back to Spaceboat.
And I'm hoping, at least in the foreseeable future, I'm hoping to add another little section right there where the demo ends. I'd like to continue it just a tiny bit, and to have a full, an actual full complete vertical slice by having that element that's missing. So we're working on something to add to it. So the demo is a ever evolving thing. We're always like, as you noted, like there's a new character. There's a couple of new things in here and there. There's some changes, little minor changes in certain things based on some comments we had from Steam. So it's from all the streams, so it's evolving. We're making it as as best we can as we go.
Yeah, I like that you added in the settings that we could change the resolution, because I had it like stuck on my monitor 1, but I wanted it going over to monitor 2, but then I couldn't put it over there. But so then it's nice that you are like taking notes from what people are saying and then putting them in like immediately into the game rather than waiting for a while.
Yeah, right now there's a big one that we put in there that we noticed some people that have potatoes for GPUs had some issues, and I was like, okay, how do we help them be able to play the game comfortably? And it was the fact that their GPU was like at 100% because it was struggling. And one of the things I put in there is, first of all, I put a cap to how much of a frame rate you can hit, so that way you're not overdoing it. You don't have like all the frame rate for the game and then absolutely no resources available for anything else. Like, let's say, I don't know, OBS while you're streaming.
Yeah.
So for streamers, we've been listening to a lot of comments, and one of the ones that came up was that it kept showing up was OBS is just struggling. Like the game is running smoothly, but OBS is struggling to encode. So I made a few changes that hopefully will alleviate that. And if anyone's listening and still having problems, even though we made all these changes to allow OBS to really take some of the resources to encode on the fly, if you're having trouble with it, we found out there's a neat little trick. If you run OBS as an administrator, it will activate a special feature that NVIDIA put into their drivers that when you do that, it will take a small percentage of the GPU despite some game trying to take all of it. So this is not just for our game, this is for everything. If ever you run OBS as an administrator, it should activate that feature and give you a little bit of extra. Yeah.
Very handy.
Yeah, some people were struggling with that. So I'm hoping if they know about that little trick and all the changes that we made, that should get them where they need to be.
Yeah, and they can just have a smooth sailing of just playing.
I hope so. Yeah.
How did you all become like into a dev team?
I mean, we've all been playing games since we were in diapers. So I mean, I'm the Atari 2600 was the first thing I ever had, and Luis. I mean, he's been playing adventure games since he's at least a little bit older than I am, but he was playing adventure games before I was playing adventure games. I was still on my Atari at the time, but we ended up working at the same company. We ended up working for DC Studios, and I was a designer, and Luis was in everything, which is what he is on Spaceboat also. So he's also in everything: a technical artist, a rigger, a modeler, animator, special effects, everything. So that was 16 years ago, 17 years ago now.
Yeah, about
with God World.
It's okay. The way I see it is we have a lot of experience now, so that
Yeah.
experience helps us do what we're doing. And if I hadn't, even the early experiences, like from 20 plus years ago, if I hadn't had them, there are certain tasks of putting together a game that I might have more trouble with. So as it stands, I'm able to produce a lot because of all the different experiences I've had over the years, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, that's great.
But we Luis was in AAA for a while. I ended up doing like part-time stuff in AA, and I did a lot of narrative games with PC. Luis went on to do Mass Effect and Dead Space, and then when the pandemic hit, we just went, you know what? Why?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that happened on my end that there was this, like after Mass Effect 3, there was a whole bunch of years where I was just kind of fed up by going to these companies that I kept seeing these behaviors is the best way I can describe it. And we're starting, like, I'm in a way I'm glad that these things are coming out now. There's a lot of these behaviors that are even worse than some of the things I've seen, obviously, but the things that I've seen were already pretty bad, and I just wanted to get away from that kind of environment. And it was just too many times in a row. Like, I'd go to a place, and I'd gotten a pretty good nose for this. Like, I was like, okay, that person just did that. Chances are they're going to be doing this kind of behavior, and that person did that. This is not a good place. And then I would be like, okay, this place is now, I can honestly say, is a toxic environment. I got to get out of here. And then I'd go to another company, and then sure enough, I see a different kind of behavior that's also kind of like, I just don't want to have to work with that kind of people anymore. So I would keep jumping from one company to the other. And at one point I started questioning myself, because I was like, maybe it's me. I don't know. I keep going to these places where I keep seeing all these behaviors I don't like.
No, it's just AAA.
Maybe I'm the problem.
No, AAA is the problem.
It takes all kinds, and like in the city that I'm in, which is Montreal, there's a lot of history here. So in the sense that there's been a lot of big AAA studios that have come here, and frankly, because it's there's a lot of subsidies from the government for them. There's a lot of advantages for big companies to come here, and as a result, we have like a group of people who kind of go from one big AAA title to another, and they bring with them sometimes the bad habits that they picked up from the other one. And unfortunately, because they come in with the "I worked on fill in the blank AAA game," and then they puff up their chest type of thing, and people have to go, "Oh wow, he worked on that one. Oh okay," and then it's like they somehow that
the bad behavior is just rewarded. So whether
exactly,
it be
so then
whether it's worker abuse, sexual abuse, the bad behavior just continuously gets rewarded because they just keep getting money to make more studios, and then it snowballs. And so we had just had enough. I mean, luckily now all of this stuff is now public, but at the time, about 2.5 years ago, it was always talked about, but there was nothing really done about it.
Well,
now
there's also
things are getting done about it, and that's all.
There's more to it than that. There's other behaviors that people still don't talk about much, which are quite bad and quite destructive for people's lives. Like there's lesser ones that we just, it hasn't been in the media much about how toxic behaviors that can lead to people burning out. And I've seen a lot of people just disappear from the industry completely. So I've seen some bad things.
I think Crunch has been talked about. And now was it the Skywalker saga? Everybody at Traveler's Tales now is telling people about the terrible crunch that they're under, and there's a huge fiasco about that now. But
Yeah,
so
so
we decided to leave it. We had enough, and that was all.
And that's the other thing too. It's like we not only did we decide to leave it, but we wanted to create a place that encourages the complete opposite behavior. We want people to be comfortable and be able to feel safe at work and just focus on the work. That's one of the things that really bugs me about the other work environment, where it becomes so toxic that you don't focus on the work anymore, and you're the thing that you're trying to progress, your career and so on. It ends up being something completely different, and it ruins all of the efforts that you're making. So that's the other thing. So I want to create a place where people can feel safe, and we can enjoy each other's company without any of that crap, and just focus on making great games. So hopefully we can pull that off.
I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
From the demo, it definitely is a great game. Just from playing the
Yes.
first demo, it is honestly a great game. And I can't I'm gonna get it on Xbox because achievements, because I'm like a big achievement hunter. But then I'm probably gonna then play for it again on PC, probably for stream.
Well, we'll see if you can get Andy's achievement. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the new demo up on Xbox yet. Soon though.
But the other thing is, on Xbox, we have a demo, right, like you mentioned. But unfortunately, from what I read when I was going through certification for the game, I can't put achievements. I can't attach achievements to a demo.
No, it's only when the game fully comes out.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I you won't be able to get any achievements for it, but you can still get the experience at at a comfortable frame rate.
Yeah,
it was optimized for Xbox, and it looks. I was really happy in the end because it's on every Xbox, pretty much current and previous, like the 2 generations, anyways. So Xbox One S in particular. So let's say that's the first one. Then you have Xbox One X, then Xbox Series S and X. So you're covered.
I know that me and Viv, we really hype up indie games rather than say AAA titles, because we found a lot of annoying not the stuff which is behind closed doors, of which we barely get to hear about until recently, and the toxic behavior which you was describing from some certain AAA companies, but it's being the consumer and being the player, and finding so many bugs and new games. We've said, oh, we can't wait to play this game in 6 months' time, when it's then fully actually finished. And that's why we really love indie games, and we hype up indie games as much as we can.
It's the care that goes into it. Just listening to you, we can tell. I mean, you were in streams being like, okay, I see this, let me do this, let me add, who's it, Andy? Does fireworks Andy. And helps. Yeah, it's let me add Andy because people aren't getting it. It's that kind of care, and
it's the level to detail,
attention to detail, and the automaticness of it, I guess, of okay, I see this from people, let me do this.
It's a great.
Let me react.
Yeah.
In indie games, you can do that because when you're the developer, you don't have to put an NDA on everything. One of the things that I really don't like about AAA is that you can't talk about anything that you're working on. I've worked on X amount of games, and Luis has also, where we'd love to tell you what we're working on, but because of NDA, we're not allowed, and then the game gets canceled, and that's 2 years worth of work that you can no longer show or talk about. So people don't know what you've been working on for the last 2 years.
Which must
so
be
discouraging.
Yeah, it must be heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's terrible. I know somebody who's worked at Valve for a very long time, and he can't talk about anything that he's worked on in the last 8 years, and none of it has come to light. So it's terrible for him. But
I was
that's
at
something.
Warner Brothers for 2 to 3 years, and I can't say what it is I worked on, even though it was something that could have been really, really great. And it's unfortunate because it's 2-3 years of my life where we all worked hard together, and we all tried to do something, and there's nothing to show for it because there was a couple people that were suffering from Dunning-Kruger and unfortunately ruined everything. But,
that's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And you can't even show that in your portfolio. So if you want to go somewhere else, you can say, oh, I worked at such and such company, and if they ask you what did you do, and you can say, oh, unreleased project, and I can't show you any of those concepts or anything that I've worked on.
And I'm lucky;
Yeah.
it was only 2-3 years on my end. Like I've heard way worse stories. Like I have a lot of colleagues that ended up at Ubisoft, and like I can tell you, there's a lot of projects that never see the light of day, and there's a lot of work that goes behind them.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, so that's something that we love about indie games is we love how we can just throw out a demo, listen to people's ideas, and then try to incorporate as many. Obviously, you can't incorporate everybody's ideas, but ones that work for the game and ones that we think people will like, we love to put them in. And we have the luxury of doing that in indie games because you're your own boss. You don't have to listen to somebody. I mean, that's the trade-off though, is that you have complete freedom to do what you want, but then there's no investors behind it. So you fail or succeed by your own coattails. You don't have a choice. So you'd better listen to people who say, oh, this is really hard, or oh, this is not very clear. Because if people keep saying that and you just go, no, my design is infallible, it's not gonna be a bad time.
There's another element to it too. Like if you consider indie has the potential to be creative and different because it can. Whereas when you're in the AAA, you have this tremendous force to just basically reskin old games. And as a result, people already know how to play those old games, so you don't need to communicate much. Whereas in the indie scene, we're trying new things, and we're able to, because there's not like $100 million behind it that if it goes down, there's going to be stocks that go to nothing.
Not my precious stocks.
So in my case, I have the luxury, in a way of, if you want to think of it that way, with indie, we have the luxury of being able to listen. Whereas in AAA, there's so many people working on it and they're recycling so many things for the sake of being quote unquote safe. Yeah, and as a result, they don't have to ask questions to the community because it's like this game has already been figured out. It's like they're like all they can do is improve it, but they can't really make any major changes to it. So in a way, indie has that luxury, and that's really nice to be able to listen to comments and then grab it and put it into the game. That, in a way, it's great because you have this loop going, and that's something I didn't see in AAA at all.
Then
that's a huge win-win. For both sides.
And then with like say a lot of like indie devs, like it really pays off for them and their game goes skyrocketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they're lucky. Yeah, if it works out.
And we're lucky also now that indie games are such its own community, is such a supportive community. We've made so many friends over the last year who have helped us and who have supported us. People at Akupara Games and HitSense and all them. It's wonderful. I mean, especially now we're in the BAE. I was telling Luis yesterday. I played every game in this event last year, and to see us now, Domino is on the header. She's on the header. To see our game as headlining a festival that we had no chance of getting into last year because we didn't even have a tech demo ready at this time, and the fact that we're headlining it is just mind-blowing to me. I still can't believe it.
Around this time last year, there was a flood that destroyed the studio and my home. So everything almost came to a grinding halt last year, and it took a while to just even recover from that flood. It was a Canadian flood too, so it was frozen. So it destroyed
the Canadian species of flood. Ice.
Yeah, so it's really cold and it freezes. Like try to imagine 4.5 feet of water in your home that pretty much covers all your computers and every electronic that you could possibly have. And then imagine that water freezing the circuit boards and destroying everything, just cracking everything in half.
Goodness.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Canadian floods are nothing to be you have to consider all the stuff that it can bring. It was pretty bad. Like both Sigmire and myself just got out of there with our lives, and I'm just grateful for that.
Bless you. You've done really well though to come from there to now headlining BAE.
Yeah, big adventure.
Literally a year ago, I was for at least one night I was homeless, and everything I owned was destroyed. And this year, here we are with BAE. And we're doing okay. So it's like it's been a crazy year. I can tell you that.
Definitely, and
Sounds like
that's
it.
inside a pandemic as well. So it's like
Oh, yeah.
that's crazy, like enough to be inside a pandemic, to then to have a Canadian flood.
Yeah. Try to get a
I
new
like
computer after
this
that.
now. The Canadian flood.
It's just
When you say that, I imagine waterfalls of like maple syrup inundating everybody's home.
Oh, if only. Yeah, at that point, I'd be like, "Here, take my computer, please. I want some more maple syrup."
You mentioned an 80s influence, but what else inspired you to make Spaceboat?
So
The old adventure
so
games that we really love, like Monkey Island and Muppets. Obviously, we love Muppets. I mean, now they're making a bit of a comeback, but for a long while, I mean, the Big Mouse owns them, so the Big Mouse tells them what they can do and what they can't do. So we really wanted to do something that had that old spirit of, because you know, a lot of, with the exception of a lot of the stuff that's come out in the last 2 years, a lot of the new Muppety stuff is very safe. Whereas Muppets used to be very sarcastic and sardonic, and it
the
used,
new
used to
movie
have.
they made was
Yeah,
great.
the new movie was great. The new movie was fantastic. The Haunted Mansion one was great, and Fraggle Rock is back now. That's wonderful. So they're finally doing something with this franchise, Big Mouse. So we love that old style of Muppets, and we love all the old adventure games, and we wanted to do something that put the things of the 80s that we love together, but with a modern style on it.
Yeah, and there's another thing too. There's it's been a long a road. Like, so for example, I won't go too much into detail, but in my younger years when I was in school, I created this universe then. So this is a product from the late 80s, early 90s. And when I created all this, I created a ton of source material, and fortunately I had the foresight of making scans of all of it, or else it would be gone in the flood. But I have this huge repository of drawings and stuff related to this universe. And when we started this game, I wanted to create something fresh and unique and different, and I wanted to be able to go back to my old stuff and bring it in. And in order to do that, I figured I can make a new, fresh look for this game by being retro futuristic, which is basically the vision of the future, but in the past. So basically, what did I think of the future in the 80s when I created this universe in the first place? So everything that I can do to kind of get into my late 80s mode and just think in that way and look at my old sketches and stuff is what I'm using in order to give it that flavor that is when the M puppets, let's call them,
It's too
were
late.
big.
I already mentioned the Big Mouse. It's too late.
Yeah. So all of those things combined is the flavor that we're trying to give this game, and hopefully it comes through, and it's not too modernized to the point where it's like you kind of lose that. So hopefully people enjoy that.
No, yeah. I don't think of that. It's too modernized. Because with the googly eyes on, say, Domino's character, that was like a favorite I know inside my streamer, where we noticed it was like googly eyes. Like that
Yeah,
was
I mean,
that
people
was a
even
section.
said they looked like a Muppet.
Yeah,
That's fine. If you say it, we can't say it. You can say whatever you like. Yeah, we call it Carpathians. Yeah, for the carpets and things like that. The Carpathians, Gelatonians. And we have all the alien races, but if you can call it whatever you like.
There's no legal reason why you can't call them the M puppet thing.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of streams that were really funny. There was some people who I get the feeling that they never even saw the Muppets or anything like that. I'm just gonna say it. They never saw the Muppets. I don't think, because they were like, "Why do all these characters look like something out of Sesame Street?" And I'm like, "Really? That's the first thing that came to your mind?" And I was like, well, it's kind of like the idea. I'm thinking, all right, hopefully they understand that this is a fun little universe where anything can happen, and it can be goofy at times, but also I love sci-fi, so hopefully that's coming through too. Like, it's not just science fantasy. There's a little bit of science fiction to it, so little elements here and there.
Yeah,
based
how
on
to
real
make
sci-fi.
classic Crocs.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, just explaining how certain things work and creating rules for this universe. That's important, I think, for creating a universe, and keep it consistent. Unlike some other franchises recently. Yeah.
Mention no
Uh,
names, also owned by the Big Mouse.
Yeah, well, the Big Mouse owns pretty much everything.
Everything. Well, if the Big Mouse wants to buy Spaceboat, I'll take that Big Mouse money.
I don't know if I would. I don't know. It's like, well, depends on the deal. If yeah, but if ever something like that were to happen, I think Spaceboat, because of its very nature of it, like the soul of Spaceboat is anti AAA mentality. So yeah, it probably wouldn't go that direction.
So independently, have you released other games, or do you have plans? I mean, Space Boat is still not like fully out, but do you have plans for like where you want to go in the future, or have you released games before?
So independently, I haven't released any games yet. So but it doesn't mean that we won't release a game before Spaceboat is complete. Because so yeah, so here's the thing. We're not doing so well for funding. So
as in we don't have any.
Yeah,
not that we got any. We don't have any.
We followed a lot of carrots on sticks in the last year, and none of them ended up with actual funding. So basically, all costs have been from my 20 years experience, all my savings and stuff like that. So because of that, I'm starting to think. I've come up with this idea for a smaller, let's say, game experience that I think people could enjoy, and that the money that would come from that would actually fund Spaceboat, hopefully. And I'm thinking I might do a little something first that people can enjoy, and then it's in a smaller scope, and that could actually help us out for the actual full release of Spaceboat.
Is there any are we allowed any little teasers of that project?
I hope you like the coffee shop.
It's very experimental. I can tell you that too. It's an experimental game with elements that are very very chill and very coffee related.
Ooh.
Exactly. So we're hoping we can create a little something that people can enjoy, and it's in the Spaceboat universe too. So
that would be like a game in a game.
Kind of, yeah. Because we're gonna have a game in a game anyways. I don't know if you remember when you talked to Earl. He says, I miss these old games like Virtual Flapper and Jawbreaker. Yeah, those two games. We're hoping to have that in Spaceboat at some point in our arcade machine that you can play.
Oh, cool.
So a game inside a game. Yeah, absolutely. And maybe
a lot of old adventure games used to do that. Even modern ones like Button City has the arcade inside of the game.
Oh, Space Quest had it in every version of Space Quest. There was an Astro Chicken, and it was central to the theme of Space Quest 3, the Pirates of Pestilon. So, like, you have to actually beat the game in order to move on to the next stage in the game. It's I've seen it so many times that for me it's like a. I think for me it's like it's perfect for. It'll be great for us. It'll make a lot of sense, and it's very meta too, because if you think about it, this game is already retro futuristic, so it's the vision of the future from the past of a game that was in their past.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Yeah, at this point, all I have to do is put it inside a Taco Bell that's inside a Pizza Hut, and we're done.
inside of a TCBY, inside of a KFC. Yeah.
Actually, the Spaceboat restaurants are coming now. Like I have a whole bunch. I have a whole slew of restaurants and chains and things that are up and coming for the next when you're actually on the Spaceboat. I can't wait.
See, I know that I can't wait to get onto the Spaceboat. Is there anything which you can tell us which you're most excited for about the release of Spaceboat, or about like what's on the Spaceboat itself?
Yeah, I think it's without spoiling it, it's the realization of what the Spaceboat is really, because
It's a giant floating mall.
Well, more than that, it's like even in the ads in the demo, it says it's a city in the stars. We're not kidding when we say it's a city. It's a full city with just about everything. Because one of the things that not a lot of people know is there's been this trend in the last couple of years before COVID hit, where there were these giant boats, like Club Med type stuff, and they have everything from bowling alleys to rock climbing and cliff jumping. And giant pools, and it's just huge. It's an incredible. It's just mind blowing that you would go on vacation and then expect all of this to come with you. It's mind blowing, and that in itself for me is already a topic of discussion. And Spaceboat needs I that's where I began the idea of the Spaceboat. It's like here's that topic needs to be discussed. We have a problem if we need to have like bowling alleys and like I can get nightclubs, I guess, but but rock climbing and bowling alleys and all these other things, it's like it's getting. They even have water slides. Like you're on a boat in the middle of the Atlantic or the Pacific.
Yeah,
water.
Seems a bit weird to have because it is because it's a vacation inside a vacation.
Yeah.
Why?
So in our case, it's more of a city. Like imagine an urban city, just floating in space. People could grow up there. They could be born and grow up on this giant city, and they'd have the experience of someone growing up in a normal city. And that in itself would be when people realize just how big the Spaceboat really is. I think it'll be a fun moment, and I'm really looking forward to people, like starting to make parallels between, like Yakuza in space type of thing. Hopefully, if I do my job right, it's like if we can do something like that, then this will be something special. I think people will really, I think people will remember.
It sounds like it. Like I know we finished the demo and we were just like wanting more, like so hungry for more. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, like what is that Spaceboat going to be like? Like what do you think is going to be up there?" Like we had a whole talk after stream with everyone, just like, "Ooh, what do you think it's going to be?" Like we're so excited for more. So I feel like you get up there and like for us anyway, because we're already so excited, it'll just be this like jaw-dropping moment of like you get in, it's like oh my gosh, we're here.
People are going, I want to get on the boat. I want to, and then when it ends right before they get on, people don't realize it's almost a full hour of gameplay before you get on the boat. So that when they go, oh no, I wanted to get on the boat, we're going
just teasing, just a little bit like here it is, but always.
Well, you say you wanted to get on the boat, and we go, yeah, so do we.
There was one streamer that said the demo is called Spaceboat, and I don't actually get to go on the Spaceboat, guys. Seriously. And I was thinking, well, yeah, it's called the demo, and you have to help us make them, get the money for you to actually experience the Spaceboat. That's the idea. It's like help us out.
It's now like completely just blew my mind because I was just expecting just like a cruise ship. Not that now there's this massive like kind of city that on side the actual boat. It's like what?
It's like the best way I can describe it is the intention is to make a Yakuza type city that basically ports on at planets. So it stops off at these crazy planets that are like, this is my sci-fi side. I want to see crazy planets. Like it's like seeing one made of Jello was just like that's just a little dessert here. But let's talk about the other planets too. Like that we could have some fun things that no one's ever dared to do in sci-fi because for whatever reason, like for the tech or what have you. But in our case, we can really have fun. Like we have like for Spaceboat, like the first game, we have like a list of planets we want to go see, and this giant city should be able to go to these planets, and then you've got on top of everything you have now other planets to explore, which are their own thing. So from the perspective of variety, there should be a ton.
Yeah. Wait, so we can, is that like a little like hint or that we can go off the boat afterwards, or
there's the Jelly Shore is just one stop. It's like it's the first stop, like where they actually take off, and it's kind of like Club Med. It stops at multiple planets, and the whole time you're still trying to catch the jewel thief along the way, and it's a shapeshifter, so it's tough to find where they are, and they will be trying to. You'll have moments where you'll be like, are they on the planet? Are they leaving the ship? That kind of stuff that can happen. So we can have a lot of fun with it. Of course, making a city, making all these planets takes a lot of work to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think I have this. I've got a couple of ideas after working on multiple games that had lots of hubs and stuff like that. I've learned from them, so I can cut down on what I call costly mistakes that I've seen too often in many productions. So I can go straight to the actual creation of the content. But there's still a manpower or like just a number of hours that are available to make this. So we're going to try to make it so that it's as done as intelligently as possible to make a big experience while still being able to do it with the people that we have. And that's why funding is so important. I need to be able to bring in some of the people that I trust, that I know they're going to do a good job. And
Luis needs help modeling and animating because he has to do too many other things.
Well, yeah, it's pretty much every aspect of game development I'm pretty much dealing with myself right now. Like 95% of a game, it's a lot of things. So right now the animation is very I would say very dry. Everything's just like minimalistic, but it works, I guess, as long as it doesn't stand out as like, oh, what was that? We're doing okay. But then even the modeling and so on, like the environments have to be done by the time that it's just one person really making all these assets, right? So I have to really be careful with my schedule.
Yeah.
So creating this planet, or rather these planets and the spaceboat itself, I'll have to be smart about how I build the city so that I can reuse modules and such for a number of reasons. But at the same time, creating that life, that familiarity. I want people to feel familiar. Streets coming up, like you go up to an area and you're like, oh, I know that corner, that's where this thing where this guy is, and so on, and you get to maybe see where Earl lives.
Yeah. Oh, that was a weird moment. Who was the brainwave like for that specific moment? Like, yeah, we're just gonna go inside Earl.
I think we both did, because I had said once I want them, because I want them to actually reach inside Earl to get something, and he's just like la 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 la, oh, that tickles, haha. But then Luis just shoved the character all the way in. And he left it so this way when you walk out the eyes don't boggle, so it just looks like your character is thinking, what just happened, what did I just do? But we wanted to make, even though Earl's a gelatinous cube, we wanted to make him like bigger on the inside than the outside, so I had said, let's put like a whole city inside of Earl. And you could have a whole world inside of it, or all of his people, all the Gelatonians. You could have little worlds inside of them.
We have this plan for Earl. There's a bigger story as to how the Gelatonians actually, like we're one of the ones we've been open about on the Discord in particular is like we want to have, let's say, a moment where you actually get to meet Earl when he was just a little gumdrop. On the Jelly Shore.
Gumdrop Earl.
Yeah, but imagine him on the Jelly Shore before it became like a Vegas strip type of thing, where it was more like just a normal jellyfish community, and he was there, and he was maybe even playing on the arcade machine. We want to have things to explain Earl a little bit more, because he's actually part of a bigger story that we have planned for him, and it'll explain how their people kind of how they reproduce, in the sense of like, how their birth happens and so on. So it's really, we have some good sci-fi coming for him. It should be interesting. I hope people enjoy that. We have plans.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So having him. What's that? Sorry.
You get little Earl's backstory.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you want to, it's just to get to know who Earl, where he comes from, and his family too, because his family is actually really, really interesting. We have some characters that I think people are going to really enjoy.
So I know that Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just. It's just. It goes for Dale as well. There's more to Dale than just being a jerk whale. There's a lot more depth to him.
I know that you have to go in a minute, but I just wanted to lastly ask for anyone who wants to work on games or is trying to get into the dev world, what advice would you give to them?
I was gonna say don't. Well, I mean, it's not like any creative endeavor, any creative aspect. You need to really be sure of your vision. You need to number one, number two, you really need to learn how to take criticism. And criticism is very different from insults. You know, saying, "Oh, this game sucks." That's not criticism. Criticism is, "Ooh, I think this could be better in this area." Or oh, this is a little bit the controls are a bit jankier. Maybe we can fix something. That's criticism. You have to learn how to take criticism. Also, number three, if you're going to pitch to publishers, something I learned from publishing books. You know, I've been publishing books a long time, and is you will get rejected no matter how great your product is, whether it be a book, music, game, doesn't matter. You will get rejected for any reason under the sun, and you have to take it with grace and just move on and just keep going. If you don't want to be with a publisher, if you want to self-publish, that's great. There are wonderful avenues like Steam, Itch, Game Jolt, all these great. Even GOG, I think, allows you to self-publish now. There are so many avenues that you have open to you now that allow you to self-publish your game, and people do, and it's when they do really well, and it's wonderful. But if you're not going to, the only thing you have to figure out is funding. And now with Kickstarter kind of being terrible, now that they want to go on the blockchain, it's going to hurt. Oh, you
Yeah.
didn't know? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Oh.
but they announced
One of
that
the
about
main
they announced that
disappointments
about
was that.
6 weeks ago, and unfortunately, a lot of people have stalled their Kickstarters or just completely don't know what to do now, because even though there is Indiegogo, it's not popular for games. So it's a big issue, and a lot of devs, like there are a couple of people who are, I think it's Katori Academy, who announced their Kickstarter in February, and a lot of people have said, well, if they're going on the blockchain, we're not interested. So, you know, regardless of the fact that that game looks great and they have lots of followers, a lot of people will not go to Kickstarter anymore. So it's, if you are doing your own game and you don't want to go with a publisher, you might have to secure funding another way. That's all. That's all the advice that we can give you, because that's all we have learned ourselves.
Well, there's a couple of other little things we can say. Like for example, the first thing that I ever made, I was 18. I made a video cassette, if you can imagine what that is. And and I had this.
Do you know what a
bag
camcorder is?
So I had this bag filled with VHS cassettes, and it had like basically the proposal for a pilot for a TV show, and I created all these characters, which were from I consider that all part of the Spaceboat universe, and I sent it out to all the places that I thought I needed to send it to, and I never got a reply from any of them except for one place, and it was really not a friendly reply. So we're talking like 90s when I sent those out, and at one point I realized, okay, so I have to learn how to play this game. Also, I might not have the skills necessary because the cassette I sent out maybe doesn't show great skills. So I figured I'm going to go into the industry and see what I can do and learn. And it's been a learning process since. And the thing is, though, it was like 20 something years later, I decided to basically go back to that and go, okay, I think I've gained enough skills to be able to do this. I think I have a reasonable understanding of how the business aspect of this is. Also, real quick anecdote: I'm actually an accountant as well.
Yeah,
it's a long story, but so I figured, okay, with all of this together, I should be able to do it this time. So that's why it's one of the reasons why I started. But I still feel that 20 years is a bit too much. I think I would have done it earlier. So if there's someone out there in a similar scenario that's listening, don't wait more than like 10 years. Jump in whenever you feel, or you feel it's right, but also don't jump in right away. It's like if you're just coming out of school, I I would strongly recommend to at least work in 1 or 2 places and try to vary the size of the place. So a small company and then a large company, just to see how they operate. And it's not time wasted. You can learn from more experienced people while you're there, and also you get to see how they operate. So know your enemy type of thing. So when you're on your own, you'll know how they think, and you'll know where they're not capable of actually doing their thing. So you can come in and say, here's something that's creative. You guys can't do that, can you?
Ooh.
So no, it's true though. They can't, because it's just too much money. It's too
Yeah.
much money on the line. They cannot do creative things. Although they used to. They used to have a group that was, regardless of the outcome, they go off and they do something creative in hopes that it becomes a big seller later. But in recent years, they've been destroying that. Actually, in commerce, we used to call that the Boston consulting group matrix, where you have like different products for different reasons, and you always have the cash cow, which is the one that they keep milking. And you'll notice that all of the other products in recent years have all disappeared. And as a result of that, that's opened up the potential for indie to come in and say, "Hey, you guys aren't doing this thing anymore, where you're trying out things to make a new bestseller. So this is where we can live. This is our
we
place now."
didn't calculate for risk. We don't do risk. We do money.
In their greed to cut out the things that don't make money, they've also cut out the ability to actually make money in the future. So it's very short-sighted of AAA right now. I find, like, it's one of the easiest ones to look at is just look at Ubisoft. Look at their what they used to make, and consider how they've evolved. Like in the early 2000s, look at the games that they had, and their big
Prince of
game.
Persia, Rayman, all these different types of games, and now they only
They're all
know how to
gone.
do one thing. Yeah.
No, but you consider that, like Splinter Cell, it still exists, but it's nothing compared to what it used to be. Or Prince of Persia, that one's pretty much
That's gone.
and that used to be their big sellers. And while they were doing that, they had these other games that were kind of being developed, and then they became the big sellers.
Yeah.
But now,
Or
because
Child
they've
of
put
Light. Child of
zero-
Light was amazing.
Yeah, but they didn't put any money into more of that kind of stuff. So as a result, they don't have the next big thing. They only have what sold last year. So they're in a bad place as a result of their greed. And that's, for me, that's I'm just, you can't see it, but I'm actually just rubbing my hands. I'm like, yes, keep doing it.
But then, yeah, because it's a thing of
Good.
like how many Far Cry games can you do?
Exactly.
No,
Like,
please.
or how many Assassin's Creed games can you do? How much can you add into Siege?
Exactly. And but the thing that I find really disturbing is that they've gotten so greedy that they've cut out the more creative, smaller projects. And the most creative that, like in the case of Ubisoft, that they've gotten is For Honor. And now they're trying to milk that, and it's pretty much at the end of its lifetime already. So it didn't go so well, and they have nothing else coming up. They have nothing in stock. And
They
it goes
have
for EA too.
lawsuits. Yay.
Yeah, EA is yeah. Well, that's their corporate culture that's finally catching up with them. I'm really glad about that, in the sense that at least it's coming out now. Not that there is a corporate culture like that.
That's their new creativity. What kind of lawsuit can we get now?
I need a T-shirt that says that.
That's great. That's great. Fantastic.
Yeah, but that's it seems to be the thing now, and I think in the end that is kind of the downfall of AAA, in particular for EA. Like, you look at the games that they've been making and how much they've been leaning on like all of these what I would consider scummy practices, where they're trying to take advantage of people's psychological predisposition to gambling and their ability to become like basically people who are addicted to certain types of gameplay to get their money out. They're so connected to that now that if you remove it, they don't know how to make games anymore. In fact, they've already forgotten what it is to make a game. In all fairness,
What do you mean?
So-
Sexual
well,
harassment is a
I
game
mean-
to them. That's what they specialize in.
I mean, also with like FIFA, it's just really skinned every year.
Yeah,
And it's just like kind of like loot crates or loot boxes with like you buy players. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't know,
now
it's just boring. Like, for me personally, I'd rather actually play a game to actually be able to play the game, not just be sit there. Oh, how much money can I spend on this?
But they're not interested in that. They just want to see how much money they can get out of you. But it's short-sighted because now their game developer muscles are really weak. They don't know how to make games anymore. And I think that's to indie's benefit again. This is one of those scenarios where you go, oh, okay, you're gonna continue going through that? Okay, that's fine. Wait until legislation comes in and all your games are useless. We'll see what happens then. Can you make a game again? Do you know?
Well,
how
that's
to do
why
that
now that loot boxes are regulated, that's why now they're going to NFTs, because NFTs are not regulated yet.
I hate that.
Sorry, I said the forbidden acronym. Sorry.
Actually, at first,
sorry.
But at first I hated the whole NFT craze, and then I realized no, this could be it. This could be the thing. This could be how all these companies go bye-bye, because they're getting involved in something I don't think they really truly understand what it is.
Well, see, I know that Stalker 2, they announced that they was going to have NFTs inside their game. Everyone hated that, and they lost a bunch of like pre-order sales, like because everyone then was like, nope, I'm going to refund. I'm not going to bother.
Exactly.
So
that's what you have to do.
Perfect.
Vote with your money.
Steam is threatening to get rid of games that have NFTs. So it's like, well, there goes a whole player base. If your game has NFTs in it, you're sinking yourself.
Exactly. And I hope that continues. That trend continues in the sense that let them go into NFTs. Let's see how that works out for them.
I think the only kind of like AAA game that I really like last bought or played was probably Pokemon, and that was it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have just lost
a lot of the first party Nintendo games are great because they're as I always tell Luis, as much as he complains about the hardware, and he's absolutely right that the hardware is not great. The first party
Nintendo third party, I can tell you
the first party games are you can't compete with the first party games like Mario Odyssey, even Bowser's Fury was great. Pokemon, even though that's Game Freak technically, the new Kirby looks great. Like all of their games, I mean, even Monster Hunter Rise was absolutely fantastic. Again, that's Capcom, but that was before it was on PC. It was still considered to be first party Nintendo because it was built for Nintendo. You cannot beat their content because one, they don't, as a philosophy in their company, they refuse to have those kind of scummy practices. My favorite thing ever was when Blades from Bethesda came out and they said, oh, you can't have microtransactions in your game for Switch. And they went, well, then what are we going to do? And so the game came out and you couldn't even play it. It was completely broken. Ooh. I don't know how I don't know how it is now, but because they had to take out all the law for Nintendo is I think you cannot have a store that is connected inside the game. So if you have other stuff, that's fine, but you have to put it on the Nintendo eShop. And because of this, they have to completely rebuild their games for Switch. That's why EA for a while said, "Oh, being on Switch, that's not profitable," because they don't want that. They want you to do the microtransactions in their games. And it's a huge market. There are 42 million Switches in the world now. It's the biggest gaming market that they're missing out on, just because
PS4
they don't.
is still the biggest. Like it's 150 million units out there. I think something like
that. That's fair enough. I mean, I think maybe because their PS4's time is almost done. Maybe 1-2 years max, and then that's it.
I don't think it's done. No one has a PS5, so it's going to be a while.
You do.
Before...
You liar.
Yeah, that was. Hey, my PS4 was destroyed in a flood. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah, no, I know.
I had to get something.
Oh, you're lucky you got that one though. But yes, it's true. So, but because of manufacturing, the big consoles, even Xbox is having issues. I saw a report the other day that said Xbox couldn't fill their mandate because they had to use old Xboxes because they couldn't get new ones for a specific demo event because they can't get new ones. So there's a huge issue when it comes to AAA, big consoles, pricing, all of this stuff. But indie games kind of just floats under it, and it's kind of nice. I mean, yes, it's harder because it is independent. You will have to do your own marketing and your own hype, which is very, very. It's probably the most important thing.
Next funding,
to and funding, but. It's you reap the immediate rewards. We have a wonderful community. We love seeing streamers play the game and just having an amazing time. In the last 2 days over the BAE, we've had almost 20 people play. It's been difficult actually keeping up with everybody who's playing, but it's really, really nice. it's a good feeling to see people actually enjoying it.
I bet it is. I bet it's like in a weird way, it's like when, say, if you're like a mum and you watch your child do something which you've like helped them, or like I don't know, maybe because this is your child of.
I guess so. I mean,
I don't
I
have
would
mom experience, so I can't compare it to anything. But I
would
guess it
say,
would be. I'm very proud of.
I would say
where
it's
we
like
are.
watching our cats do something we taught them to do. Yeah.
Although, well, yeah, because I've got rats and I taught them how to spin. I just watch them spin now. It's just like amazing.
That's awesome.
Aw.
Wonderful. Oh, by the
Well-
way, speaking of those kind of like rodents in particular, the suit that Domino's in might have somebody with her in the suit.
Ooh.
Yeah, one of the
Like
things we
in-
wanted to do is when you zoom in and out of the suit, we can't do that. That functionality doesn't work in the demo at the moment. But when you zoom in and out of the suit, when you zoom all the way in, you'll be able to see you'll be able to be in first person, and you have like the little mouth hole where she is, or the neck hole, and then you'll be able to see who's with her in the suit.
Yeah, in the head part, like
Ooh.
the Google behind the googly eyes. There's going to be basically a mission companion, we think,
Hmm.
Oh,
and
that'd be
it
cute.
might be a rodent type creature.
Ooh. That'd be adorable.
Yeah, we have lots of things that we want to put in. It's just a matter of time and funding.
Yeah, but that was definitely one of the ones in the on the at the top of the list. We wanted to have companions. Yeah,
Like the jelly
That's
dog as
really
well.
cool.
Everybody likes the jelly dog, so
Oh.
we wanted.
Love the jelly dog.
Oh yes.
That sold it for somebody who was watching me. They was like, "Yep, immediately gonna wish list this because of the jelly dog."
Mhm.
Like petting the dog. That was it. It was just. It is nice.
And you can pet him as many times as you want.
I think I might have done it 4 or 5 before I
That's not
stopped.
enough.
Yeah, I need to go back and just pet the dog. 24-hour stream, just petting the dog.
I think it like the dog becomes conscious of you actually petting him at least more than once, because like you may have noticed when you pet him, he doesn't seem to be all there. You got to remember his brain is jelly, so he's not all there. He doesn't really know you're there. So yeah, keep petting him. Eventually, he'll realize you're there, I guess.
Mm.
Well, we'll do something for it. Right now, there's nothing for that particular mechanic, but yeah, that's the idea. He's like that little dog's not very smart, but right now he's not very conscious of what's going on around him. But he's
Poor
a
little
good
jelly
dog. He's a
guy.
good boy.
What a
What's
jelly guy.
Poor
A
little jelly
jelly
guy.
Well, that's what Earl is, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
We
a
also want to
jelly
put
person.
in something with Earl and his hats. So, like for example, there's a new hat in the game, and I wanted us to have. So if you do manage to get it, I would love to have us trade hats with Earl, or Earl to say, "Oh, you got that special hat. You want to trade?
Well,
This one does it."
he pre-orders everything, so he's going to have all kinds of pre-order merchandise. So he'll have plenty of hats.
Does this mean more going inside Earl?
Oh yeah,
Oh
for
yeah,
sure,
oh yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. We have something special planned. For that,
He's going to be your wardrobe. You want to put something.
Yay.
He's your bag of holding. You want to put something away? You put it in Earl. He'll keep it safe.
He's like a gelatin TARDIS.
Absolutely.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
He's
Hey,
bigger
you
on
just
the
need to
inside
do
than
it.
the outside.
You need to do an Earl cosplay now.
Actually, one of our streamers, Larissa Faye, we have a whole merchandise line of just Earl stuff, because people wanted it. So Louise spent time making it, and she bought a blanket with Earl's face on it, so that it's his whole body. So this way, when you put it on, you submerge yourself in Earl.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna need the link to the shop, please.
Yeah, is it merch? Is it merch
It's
for all
on
that
it's
can
on
be-
our Recombobulator Twitter. It's the second thing is that just the merch link. But yeah, we have a whole Space Chucks line. It's from Threadless. We have a Space Chucks line. We have a logo line, and then we have pre-order Earl storage. That's his like
Yeah. There's even a blanket. There's a pillow. There's all kinds of stuff, and there's a bag, and there's all kinds of stuff where you can put things in. So that makes
That's
sense for Earl.
amazing.
Yeah, so there's a whole line of storage. But yeah, we wanted to make so on the ship you have your own room, right? So we wanted to put various things in the rooms. This way you can change in and out of your suit when you're in the room, and then you can go into cat mode whenever you like. And but having Earl as your room buddy, where you can just trade hats and trade clothes and store things in him, we really wanted to try.
I just saw the shower curtain, and that's going to replace my Nigel Thornberry shower curtain.
Oh,
wow.
smashing!
That's fantastic.
And I don't replace Nigel though. He's so great. I love him. He's the best.
He is. I
Yeah,
mean,
except for the helium.
Earl's better.
exactly. So then I can be like, it can be pretended that I'm then going inside Earl, and then I can come out.
Yep.
Like real life coming
That's
in
great.
and out of Earl.
That's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's fantastic. But thank you very much for having us. I really enjoyed our chat, and thanks for putting this stuff out so that people know a little bit more about Spaceboat. It really helps. Everything helps.
Yeah, thank you so much for your support, and we're so glad that you enjoy the game.
Thank you so much, Michelle and Luis, for coming and talking to us all about Spaceboat. We really can't wait for the game to come out, and we hope everyone listening would also just help us support Spaceboat. And if it sounds interesting to you, then wishlist it and help
Play the
us get
demo.
this game. Yes.
Yes, definitely
Play
play
the demo. Help us get this game fully out so everyone can play and enjoy it, just like we enjoyed the demo.
Yes, and thank you very much for talking with us. As V said, it was fantastic. It was really nice to have a conversation. And
It really was.
we will see everyone in 2 weeks' time for some more podcast.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for listening. This has been T.
And V.
Bye.
Bye.